Round out the front row. Row 2 has Ronnie Jones, Rodney Ferris, Bill Herndon back from that big crash. Durrell, Atherton, and Hale rounding out the second row. Danny Ingram, Will Davis, Jay Springsteen, Chance Darling, and Dave Camlin make up row 3. With that, the preliminaries are complete. It's 25 miles to the championship, and we're underway. Parker from the outside grabs the immediate lead. Poovey dives into second spot. Carr goes to third. Moorhead fourth as they head out onto the backstretch on lap number 1. And the strategy for Scott Parker seems clear. Bill Werner, go to the front.
Get to the front, stay out of traffic. His worst nightmare is being in traffic. He wants to race by himself or with Chris Carr. He doesn't want to race with anybody else.
Keep in mind that Chris Carr, in contrast, must have somebody else in the picture if he is going to be champion. Parker is the leader, Poovey is second, and Carr is third. If Carr wins the race and Parker is second, Parker will be the champion. If Carr can get a third man up there to drop Parker back to third, then he can win the championship. That is Kenny Tolbert, who prepares the motorcycles for Chris Carr. He is the equivalent, if you will, of our Bill Werner. And now as they head down the backstretch, we shuffle the deck. Here's Carr moving to the inside of Poovey and taking over the second spot. And so the championship challengers go to the front. But Poovey is the key in the equation here. Carr's got to keep Poovey up there in that race.
Poovey and Chris could team up together and get into a race with Scott Parker. That could work to Chris Carr's advantage. Chris wants nothing more than to get Terry Poovey along with him in this race.
Keep in mind that Kevin Atherton, whom we thought was a possible spoiler, did not fare well in his heat race, had to come into this main event through the semifinal. Not a player, it appears, at this moment. It is quickly developing into a three-rider battle. You got a glimpse of Ronnie Jones, number 16. He has raced with Scott Parker and Chris Carr perhaps more than anybody else over the last 2 or 3 years. Tonight, he has not yet demonstrated the ability to keep up with those leaders. So, a three-man draft up the front straightaway. Carr comes out of line to take over the second spot. We'll be back to see who will be champion at Sacramento. California, the championship showdown continues. Scott Parker leads. Chris Carr is second. Terry Poovey in hot pursuit from third. Fourth, fifth, and sixth, the hot battle. Number 16, Ronnie Jones. Number 72, Larry Pegram. And number 92, Rodney Ferris. Occupying those spots. Further back, you see Atherton, Jay Springsteen, not factors at this moment. Here's the gap back to that second-place battle. Seventh and eighth belong to Ricky Graham and Steve Moorhead, the veterans, as they freight train down the backstretch. No change in position here, but Jones has not yet demonstrated the ability, number 16, to get away and get up there and catch the leaders, and that is perhaps a key. And now those leaders begin to open up a little separation on Poovey. You mentioned Parker's worst nightmare earlier. This has to be Chris Carr's worst nightmare, that Poovey will not be able to keep up and that this will become a two-man race. You saw Poovey hit that little hole there in turn 1. He needs to be running perfect laps to keep this from becoming a two-man battle.
Exactly. They have opposite strategies here. Scotty normally lays back early in a race, and he welcomes the traffic. He uses the traffic. He has the opposite approach in this race. He does not want traffic. He wants to get away from everybody.
Well, they are both clearly getting away from Poovey as they drop him off into turn 1. See the gap grow back to number 18. Meanwhile, Rodney Ferris, number 92, has moved around Pegram and into fourth. Maybe he'll be the one to try to run down the leaders, but I think their pace means that they're just going to go away here.
They're getting away from the third and fourth place riders. Once you open up this kind of gap, the only thing that would get them back in contact would be tire wear, and that's still a possibility.
Parker looking back. That is unusual. This is Stacy Hall, the woman in Chris Carr's life, perhaps reflecting on the painful arithmetic here. In a two-man race, Chris Carr cannot be the champion. He can win the race. Carr goes to the lead for the first time, drafting by Scott Parker. He let him get out there a little ways, but then ran him down.
Parker checks the traffic behind him. His worst fear is the pack would be catching him. He knows Chris is in front. What Chris wants to do, on the other hand, is slow up the race. He'd like to get to the front and get these other players involved.
Parker's not going to let him do that. He goes by to take the lead at turn 3. Remember, the 4-point difference. If Carr wins and Parker is second, they will end the season in a dead tie, and Parker Parker will win the championship based on the tiebreaker, which is most victories. Carr retakes the lead. He is really in desperate need here of figuring a way to get these three guys to catch up. Here comes the battle for third. Pegram goes to the third spot, and then Ferris dives past both of them. That continues to be a good race as Carr opens up a little separation. And realistically, Bill, doesn't Carr know at this point that there's no hope of those other guys catching up?
I'm sure it's crossed his mind. I'm sure he's looked around, and he doesn't have any help right now. It's a two-man race. He'd like to win this race. Quite frankly, Scott would like to win this race, but the war is the important thing.
They continue to feel each other out. The draft pass back and forth. You see Carr now looking back. He can see that those guys are almost a straightaway behind. He knows and must be frustrated to realize that it has come down to this. He and Scott Parker together in a two-man battle. There's no way Carr can be champion in this situation. The best he can do is whip his rival on the racetrack, make a statement in the final race of the year, and with a decisive pass like that, I think we can conclude that indeed Chris Carr is racing for the race victory. He's just going to come out of this the best he can, and Parker's not going to let him have it easily.
Now, to win this race, Chris Carr's going to have to race as hard as he can. Scotty's not going to give him anything today. To beat him, he'll have to do his best.
The mile tracks have long been the nemesis of Chris Carr. Parker is so dominant on these big ovals. Carr knows that this is where he has to close the gap on Parker in order to be a long-term champion. He's got to be able to ride these tracks as effectively as Scott Parker. Poovey, Pegram, and Ferris continue their war for third. Chris Carr looks back a little wistfully, wishing that some way he could close that huge gap back to that third-place battle, but it's just he and Parker out front, and that is bad news for Chris Carr. A lot of incentive, though, in that second battle. For example, consider that Rodney Ferris, who takes over third spot here, has not had a top three finish all year. He'd love to finish this season up on the rostrum. Poovey, meanwhile, is faded to fifth, and that's a disappointment for him because he was coming here hoping to close the season with a victory and help that Honda team to perhaps become a stronger force next season. The 19-year-old wonder boy, Larry Pegram, takes over the spot. The championship battle will continue when we come back. We're back at Sacramento, California for the final laps of the CAMEL Pro Motorcycle Championship Showdown. The Harley-Davidson factory teammates, Chris Carr, number 20, and Scott Parker, number 1, battling as they have all season, handlebar to handlebar. Far behind them, a great race for third, led now by Larry Pegram, draft pass by number 92, Rodney Ferris. Terry Poovey is 6th. Catching them is number 32, Mike Hale. As we watch the battle up front, let's talk about money, Bill Werner. When USA Today covered this series as its sports cover story, they asked you about your common interest with Scotty Parker. You mentioned that one of them is mutual funds. How much can Parker go out of here with tonight?
If he clinches the championship tonight, he could leave here with an extra $175,000.
Carr can't win the championship. He can win the race. How's he going to do that?
Well, I think his best shot is to follow him down the back chute, take a shot at him up the front chute, because I think coming off of turn 4, they're equally matched. And they've been testing each other all race long.
Here's that battle for third. Mike Hale has now moved to the head of what has become a four-way battle. They are coming down to the white flag. We'll see if Carr will make the pass. No, he stays right in Parker's draft. You call it, Bill Werner. He wants to follow Parker. He has spelled him out. He knows he can draft him on the front straightaway. He's going to try to set him up for the last lap slingshot pass. Wanda Parker knows that there's a $100,000 check in the mail. Poovey slams into number 72, Pegram. And I'll tell you, you do some things on the last lap you wouldn't do elsewhere in the race. Poovey just jammed it in underneath. They're racing for position. Here they come. Final 2 corners of the 1991 CAMEL Pro season. Off turn 4. Parker has the lead. Carr back a little bit now into the draft. Here comes the slingshot down to the wire. Carr has done it. He's won the final race of the year. Scott Parker is the champion. Here's the race to the wire for third. Give it to number 92, Rodney Ferris, by a wheel over Mike Hale. The celebration begins. Parker has won the championship. Carr there to congratulate him. Number 3, Ricky Graham, comes up to offer congratulations to only the second man in history to win number 1 4 years in a row. But what a ride for Chris Carr as he takes the final checkered flag of the season. And now what's this? The traditional victory lap. But look at this. Carr is going to take Parker with him on the final victory lap of the season. What a way to finish the year. We'll be right back.
I feel Denorex tingling on this side.
Buy a Harley-Davidson, exclusively available at your Harley-Davidson dealer. It has never happened before in the history of the sport. Two riders tied for the championship at the end of the season. Chris Carr has won the race. Scott Parker has won the championship. They've shared the victory lap together. 225 to 225. Parker wins the title based on more race victories. Let's go trackside.
Scott, first thoughts.
Man, it was, like I say, one hell of a race, and it was down to me and Chris Cruz. I looked back a couple times, and I knew I could go out there and race with him all day long and never worry about him trying to knock me off or me trying to knock him off. I knew it was going to get good, clean racing, and that's one thing. He's one hell tough competitor, and congratulations on the win.
Chris, you needed a little bit of help out there, and it wasn't there.
Well, all I could do was race Scotty one-on-one. Winning the race, him getting second, and tying in points is somewhat of a shallow victory, but I got to give him all the credit. He won the amount of races that it took to win the series.
You're both champions. There's no two ways about that. You knew he was there. Were you concerned at all about the win?
No, I mean, I knew it was me and him. I looked back a couple times. I knew it was, you know, we pretty much had a good lead. And like I say, if there had been a couple other people, I might have been a little scared. But me and Chris, I knew it'd be good, clean racing. And I don't think we ever touched one time, and that's because there's good, clean sportsmanship out there.
4 in a row, Scott. 4 in a row. What does that mean to you?
That's what we've been shooting at all year. And like I say, we finally pulled it off. And it really feels good to win 4 championships. I guess we're looking for number 5, and I know who will be on my heels next year, Chris Carr.
Chris, I got to ask you, no rider has ever done 5 in a row. Do you think he has a chance?
He's got a chance, but a slim one at that.
So Carr throws down the gauntlet for 1992, less than 5 minutes after the finish of the 91 season. Here are the results. Carr has won the series finale over Parker. Rodney Ferris' first top 3 finish of the year. Hale and Poovey round out the top 5. Larry Pegram, Dave Durrell, Ricky Graham, Steve Moorhead. Billy Herndon back from his big crash to claim 10th spot here tonight. A couple of guys with big disappointments this evening. Kevin Atherton 11th and Ronnie Jones 13th. Will Davis in between them. Danny Ingram and Jay Springsteen, Dave Camlin, and Chance Darling round out the top 17. And here is the moment thousands of Parker fans have anticipated since a year ago tonight. Roy Jansen of the AMA presenting the 4th consecutive number 1 to Scott Parker. And thus we name Scotty as American Motorcycle Institute Rider of the Race. Unanimous choice indeed for Rider of the Year. Our congratulations to Scotty. Our thanks to AMI. Again, the points tied at the top, first time in history. Parker and Carr. Ronnie Jones 3rd, Kevin Atherton 4th, Larry Pegram 5th. We'll check the rest of the top 10 while we get the final thoughts of Bill Werner. Bill?
I'm just glad it's over. I mean, we've got to witness a historic struggle for the championship. 2 great riders pushing each other to new heights, rising to the occasion every week, and realistically, they've both made each other better racers.
Better racers, Bill, and I think better men, too. Carr's display of sportsmanship tonight certainly increased his stature with the fans. Parker has secured his place in the history of this sport. In the end, perhaps it is the sport itself that came away the biggest winner. Motorcycle racing has a lot to be proud of tonight. We'll be back next week to review this entire season in all its historic significance. The Year in Review next Thursday night here on ESPN. For more information on the American Motorcycle Institute, call them up at 1-800-874-0645. I'm Dave Despain for Bill Werner and Larry Myers. So long from Sacramento, California, where Scott Parker is still number 1.